Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. It is so good to be with you on this evening. It is finally September 1st. I mean, it's like we've been waiting all of 2 days for it to get here since June ended. But this is the beginning of the fall weather. You can almost believe it. Whenever September comes in, after that, expect the temperatures to drop out of that 80, 90 temperature realm down all the way to the wonderful 70s. The nights are going to get cooler, 50s and 40s, just like clockwork. Believe you me. We are in the studio today. We have a really good conversation that's in store for you today. We're going to be talking a little bit about men's mental health, but y'all know how I do. Before we do that, I got to begin to talk a little bit about what's on my mind. So I got to share with you all some of the things that are really out there today. I'm looking for you all to come in. If you're coming in through our social media platforms, please like, tag, and share this conversation with those in your community. Let's begin to share. Let them know that Straight Talk is on. I remember when I was a kid growing up, a teenager, we used to always watch 106 in Park. And on 106 in Park, they used to always say, "Hey, 106 in Park is on," and people would jump off the bikes and be home before the street lights were on because 106 in Park was on. So we're asking that you all have that same kind of compassion and fun. I thank you all for your continual listenership. For those of you who are listening on our FM dial, that's on 107.1 FM WTLZ, we certainly thank you. And those who are coming into our listening or our streaming platforms, I'm going to ask that you like, tag, and share once again, but also go to our YouTube channel and become a subscriber. So whenever the show comes on, you'll get your ding and it'll let you know, hey, Straight Talk is on. Let's see what is going on. Thank you for those listeners that are coming in right now. I can't really see who they are, but let's tag, share this conversation with other folks. We're going to talk about getting our brothers together in the head. Me duele la cabeza, is what they say in Spanish. My head hurts. So let's talk about that a little bit. But before we get to that, let's have a conversation about the things that are going on. Hey, you know, with football, with fall comes football season, and I'm so excited. It is, as someone said, the most wonderful time of the year. And somebody thought they were talking about Christmas. No, we're talking about the fall weather for football. Football is fully under swing. And with that, we have seen Colorado State University, I think, lose by, was it 53, 50 plus points? I didn't even think that was possible in college sports, but it happened. Some teams hung in there. I'm going to tell you, y'all Wolverine fans, y'all looking a little suspect. Something looks a little scary down there. We're praying for the Spartans as well. I was listening and I saw something that my guy, posted Clifton Ryan, who was a great standout at Michigan State University. He says, do you realize that how many coaches Michigan State has gone through since Izzo started as coach? And he just started listing all the names of coaches that we've gone through. And, it's really quite interesting that he's had such great longevity, but we just can't get it right in that football program. Okay, not only that, I know your boys, Saginaw United, they out there and people are talking about, is this what we get from a combined school? One of the things that's going to happen is there's going to be a transitory period, and we've got to allow greatness to happen. Both schools were having subpar teams by themselves. I don't know why putting both of them together, we thought automatically was just going to be a great team. Players have to understand that there's a change and they have to be able to build morale among one another. And I know that process started last year, maybe the year before last. Is going to take some time. Give the coach a break. And as I'm talking about that, let's just talk a little bit about Saginaw United. Folks that are out there, it is so easy. The easiest thing on the planet to do is to be disagreeable. The easiest thing on the planet to do is to just complain, and that comes easy. Complaining comes easy. Being negative is an easy thing. Let's think about some things positive. I want us to understand that your investment was not in vain. I think that there's a lot that comes from this. I'm not going to go into my whole soapbox moment at this time because I do have a guest that will be us today as we talk about men's mental health. But I do want to say to our residents, to our city, to our people, let's make sure that we are speaking well of our community, because as we look at what happens with the school, wonderful job, shout out. I'm going to say this name because this is the person who reached out to me, Pastor Washington. She reached out and said, hey, I'm going to be doing this prayer at the bridge for both the city of Saginaw and for the new school. I want to give you a shout out, Pastor Gwen, for an amazing job. I want to say shout out to Saginaw. Y'all get the King Crown. Y'all get the Shining Star Award on today for being great and looking great. All of the churches and the folks in the community coming out to support through prayer and supplication our community and the start of this new school year, this new school that we got going on. I'm excited about what our potential is as a community. And I just had to tell you all that we talk so much, so many times, myself included, about what are these pastors doing, even myself being a pastor. But it is great when I see them come in and do great things. And this week it was nothing short of great. It was excellence. Seeing the city come together on the bridge and praying for our entire city. Y'all don't understand what that bridge represents. Many of us don't. But that bridge is not just a bridge to get you from one side to the other side. It's not just a gateway, but it is also an access point and portal, I think, for our community. That river that runs through the heart of our city is symbolic of life and opportunity. As we look at it, rivers can't be caged. And so we are saying, as we have a new school that is Saginaw United, they are the phoenix, meaning that they are rising from the ashes for a new dawn and a new beginning. You can't kill them. They don't die. They multiply, right? Babies, kids. So is the city of Saginaw. We are rising from the ashes, not only educationally, but opportunities for employment. We have some great conversations that are going to be coming up over the next couple of weeks. We are entering into a fall season, and so I want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to really highlight what's happening. I got some people coming in. We're going to talk about economic empowerment and what we can do as a community. This show was started on the point that we are going to rebuild the village. That's why Mr. Casson Gates today, with all of these letters, LPC, NCC, EMDR certified. I don't even know what they mean, but we're going to get to that. And getting our brothers, our mental health together is so important, because we got to rebuild the village. So we're going to have people talking about how we can come together as entrepreneurs and small business individuals. We have to be the saviors of our own community. I say that a million times. Shout out to my brother Chris Packard out there who ran. Thank you for your continued listenership. I want y'all to know one of the things that is so important and exciting and fun to me is that when I run into folks in the community and they either hear me talking somewhere and they say, wait a minute, I know that voice, straight talk, and they may not even know me, or someone that meets me or sees me and they find out who I am. They say, wait a minute, we listen to you every Sunday on the radio. And some of you have told me, hey, I get in the car at 6 o'clock because I want to hear you on the radio instead of, watching you on, I don't know if you don't want to see me. What is that? Is that I brush my teeth every single day before coming in. But I appreciate you guys coming in and sharing and listening and tuning in. And if you guys are going to continually tune in, I'm going to make sure that it is worth your time. All right. So let's be good with the Saginaw United. September 3rd is going to be coming up here on Tuesday. Man, it is going to be electric. So many people are signing up. Your brothers and sisters from HELP are going to be there. Folks are going to be there to support the opening of this new school. It is going to take a community effort, Understand what I'm saying? So as we throw negativity out there, it helps our students to be negative. But our students deserve a place where they can excel. And I often believe that if you treat individuals as animals, they respond as animals in a cage. But when you treat them as humans and you give them respect and dignity and you give them a place that is a great place to be, they respond accordingly. And our young people are resilient. I know we've heard the stories about what's been happening on the street, but now we have an opportunity to do some level setting as it relates to education. What we were dealing with in terms of edifices and buildings and structures was dated, and now our students have an opportunity to kind of level the playing field. We see also an opportunity where I believe the real excellent piece of what's getting ready to happen is going to take place, and that is our educational systems partnering with corporations to provide exceptional opportunities for our young people. That is Microsoft. These students that are coming in are not just getting a beautiful building, but Microsoft Teams is going to be in every single one of the schools. That's thanks to your leaders at the Dow Treasure Academy. Shout out to Ivan Phillips Jr. Out there, who was the person who advocated for that to take place. That's training, education, and learning support. So that's cybersecurity, programming, coding, all of those things will be a part of the educational process. There'll be golf in this new school, which I'm extremely excited about, giving these kids access and opportunity. Opportunities can change a lifetime. All right. So I'm going to turn the page on that. Football's happening. New school is getting ready to take place. Let's get out there and support the babies. Y'all heard what happened last year with the kids feeling somewhat left out when it came to the tailgate situation. Very interesting situation now. You got about 1.25 miles that separates where the tailgate is designated to be, I think, at Ojibwe Island, and where the game will be played at Saginaw High. So let's make sure that we get both to the tailgate as well as to the high for the game. It's always going to be Saginaw High, even though Saginaw Middle School or whatever it is, it's still going to be Saginaw High and Arthur Hill, even though the names will change. But to those of us who've been around for a minute, they're going to be what they've always been to us as we look at them. So that's exciting. So let's continue to do what we can there. Let's make some great things happen. And we're going to get into the next conversation. Hey, Cherise Steele Phillips, you are not the first person, but you're the first one that I see commenting in our social media streams. Great Sunday evening to you as well. All the way from Atlanta, Georgia. We certainly thank you for tuning in regularly to this program. All right, so I'm going to segue just a little bit because I have a lot of stuff that I want to talk about, but I'm going to end this really quick, and my producer is on a break. But when he gets back, we'll segue into a commercial. And it's that time of season where everything is happening in terms of politics. And so on the 10th of September, we will see really there's a lot that I need to talk about. Lisa Coney, you out there, shout out to you, Lisa Coney. And the reason I say that is because she stopped and she says, I am curious to know your take on a couple of different things. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what it means in our elections that we concede, and we do so with dignity and pride and class. That means that when you lose a race, you then, if you are a part of a Democratic Party, you throw your support behind the other individual. That doesn't always go without having some conversation. You know, people want to jockey and say, hey, what I can get, what is it that I can get in order to be, you know, to throw my support you. We saw that happen recently with Donald Trump. But when it comes to certain situations, we've got to be a little bit more tactful in how we handle certain things. We'll have that conversation coming up. We'll also talk about, I have in the next coming weeks, a conversation set up. I'm going to bring your favorite Republican turned independent that you all love to talk about, and then Mr. Jimmy Green. He's going to be in the show with me. He's got an important announcement that he's going to be making. But we're going to talk about politics because there's a number of Republicans who are disenfranchised with the process. And we say we are disenfranchised. And this is what I'll say. Kamala is not, you know, we're glad that she's there versus Joe Biden. I am not a Democrat or a Republican. I say that I have Democratic views on some things and very conservative views on other things. So I am really a red, white, and blue independent. And I have always been that way. But there are a number of people that she was not like the savior. No one's excited when she ran for president the first time. That's why y'all didn't elect her, because she was not your choice. But when we look at what's at stake, and that's going to be the conversation that we'll have in a couple of weeks, what's really at stake. And when we talk about this, we're talking about democracy. The very threads of how we govern as a nation is what is at stake. And I would say this time more than ever, because they know that they got one shot to change some of the things that have been out there. And it's important for us to understand that thing right there. I had a great opportunity this past weekend. I went, was all over the country. I ended up in DC and then in New York City. And while I was in New York City, I took the time to go see a show on Broadway by the name of Hamilton. Many of you have talked about it. I'd heard about it. I hadn't read it. And when I got there and I started looking at the playbill before the show, I'm like, is this about Alexander Hamilton? So I really wasn't enthused about it. But I'll tell you that when this show started, it was the most electrifying, exciting, best put together production that I have seen. And I'm an individual who visits New York on some frequency. I've been there. I've seen Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, The Lion King. I'm just all of the greats that are out there. I've seen a lot of those in play. Even The Color Purple and for Color Girls Who Committed Suicide When the Rainbow Wasn't Enough, which my cousin starred in. S.C. Pace Merchant, shout out, shameless plug. But with all of that, Hamilton was by far the greatest that I had seen in a very long time. It was absolutely amazing to see this play that was put together by this Black man. Every single lyric of the play was hip hop. They had wrapped the entire life story and history of the framing of our great nation. Absolutely amazing. Wonderful. Take your kids to see it. And this wasn't just like generic rap. These brothers this was like real hard. It was good, like real stuff. And so I was excited about that. And it was a great opportunity. And with that opportunity, we understand that there have been a number of people who have died for the privilege of voting that we have. It's a right, not a privilege. Some folks want to treat it like a privilege, but it's your right to vote. And that right to vote is being threatened. The soul of a nation, I'm not going to really say that, but the core of what our democracy stands for is at risk. And we want to make sure that we do everything that we can to make sure that this great nation that we love has the ability to continue on. We're going to take a quick commercial break right here. And when we get back, we're going to talk about men's mental health. There's a program that is coming up. Mr. Casson Gates is here in the house. We're going to get with it, talk about it, be about it. Don't go away. Take a quick break here. My Mr. Producer, man, we'll be back with more Straight Talk.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
Hey, Michigan, let's think beyond the sink and learn where the water your family drinks every day comes from. Private wells and public water supplies allow homes across Michigan to draw water from different sources, like lakes, rivers, and groundwater. Tap into the facts about your home's water source and learn about your home's water quality to protect your family's health. Visit michigan.gov/care for MI drinking water. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Hey, Mid-Michigan, price of everything seems to be going up and up, and that makes affordability a real problem. Well, I won't accept that, and neither should you. That's why I'm turning September into X-September. Ryan Wasik here from Bell-Wasik GMC Buick, your only local Buick dealer and home of the lifetime warranty. And if you hate your old ride, don't accept the status quo, because if you're tired of high prices and payments, just say no. Only during X-September. Plus, you could save up to $3,000 on a nicer, newer car based on the price of the car you pick. Here at Bell-Wasik GMC Buick, we're all about acceptance and affordability. We'll help you find a car you love for a monthly payment that fits your budget. So don't accept a car you hate when you can get accepted for a nicer, newer car you love. Only during X-September. Remember, it's your chance to save up to $3,000 on a car you love based on the price of the nicer, newer car you pick. But hurry, a deal this accepting won't last long. I'm Ryan Wasik, your dealer for the people. See all the A-plus rides at RyanApproved.com. That's RyanApproved.com.
Credit requires bank approval. Negative equity may be refinanced. Vehicle purchase price determines actual discount. Offer absolutely ends September 30th, 2024.
From cars and trucks to boats and side-by-sides, you can cruise into a great rate with Dow Credit Union. Whether you're looking for something new or used, on-road or off, we have auto loan rates as low as 6.99% APR and recreational vehicle rates as low as 7.99% APR. Visit dowcreditunion.org/adventure and hit the road, water, or trail this summer. Rates may change and are based on creditworthiness and collateral conditions. All loans subject to approval.
Life insurance. Why are you putting Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
Standing up for everyday Americans is at the very foundation of who Kamala Harris is. Raised in a middle-class home by a working mother who instilled in her a passion for justice and equality. That's why when Kamala Harris became district attorney, she stood up for our kids, keeping them safe by prosecuting sex offenders. She also pioneered a program to give nonviolent drug offenders a second chance. As president, Kamala Harris will continue the fight for everyday Americans. She's already lowered the cost of your health insurance and medications. Insulin is now capped at $35 for seniors. But there's more to do because mortgages, rents, groceries, and utility bills are still too high. Harris's plan to fix it? Build more homes to lower prices and make the wealthy and billionaires pay their fair share so we get a break. All her life, Kamala Harris has been standing up for us, and she doesn't plan to stop anytime soon.
I'm Kamala Harris, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Harris for president.
It's Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with more Straight Talk, and it's good to have you with me on this evening. We're getting ready to have a real conversation. We're going to talk about men's mental health. And we want to target specifically, though, that about men because we have someone here that has put together something amazing. And we want all of you to know exactly what's going down, what it's about, and how you can benefit from what it is that we're talking about. And what I'm talking about while we're doing this, Griot Mental Health Counseling in partnership with the YMCA, grief and loss counseling for men. The loss of a loved one, especially a child, can cause both emotional and physical pain that can impair your ability to function. And you get in that mental gridlock. And we don't want that to happen. So here, Griot Counseling, Mental Health Counseling is providing a 5-week session on coping with grief for men, navigating and coping with the impact of your loss. This will begin September 11th. Then it'll be the 18th, the 25th, the 2nd and the 9th. I believe that is on Wednesdays, and each Wednesday following September 11th. Wednesdays from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at the Saginaw YMCA. And I have the curator or the guy that will be running these sessions with me here today to have this conversation. I'm so glad to introduce or present to those of you who know him well, Casson Gates, CEO, LPC, NCC, EMDR, EPMD. No, I'm just joking. He's in the studio with us today. Cass, and just to read a little bit about him, is a licensed professional counselor. He holds a master's degree in clinical health, mental health counseling from Oakland University, and is the owner of Griot. I love the name Griot. We'll talk about it just a little bit. Mental Health Counseling Services is the assistant director of the Campus Mental Health and Wellness Center at Saginaw Valley State University. Shout out to my cards. Cass experience includes working for a substance abuse residential treatment facility, TRICAP Social Services program in Saginaw. He also works with Saginaw Psychological Outpatient Services, Bay Psychological Outpatient Services, Mid-State Michigan Network, a prepaid insurance health plan provider network of Lansing, Michigan. He uses an integrative approach of treatment modalities such as person-centered therapy, solution focus, and is EMDR. We're going to talk about what that means. I have absolutely no idea. I'm just reading letters. Certified by EMDRIA International Association. Cass' mantra for counseling is relationships, perspective, and feelings, and is instilling hope. Welcome, Cass, to our story. Casson Gates, welcome to Straight Talk.
Hey, thank you, brother, bro. I appreciate it.
All right. He's a little nervous, y'all. Take it easy on this his first time. And as you know, we all do. We get in the radio, we're like, whoa, this is something I'm not used to. But, bro, you are at home. I am excited by what you're doing. Let's start a little bit. First of all, share with those who may not know you out there. Let them know who you are. Who is Casson Gates? Describe where you're from, where you hail from. Did you go to Saginaw High, Arthur Kill? Let us know a little bit of something about you.
Right, sure. So, born and raised in Saginaw, graduated from Saginaw High, lived here my whole life, and I got a lot of strong connections and relationships here. So when I got into this mental health model, I always knew and understood that I wanted to do something to give back to my community.
So how did you, coming from the city of Saginaw, going to Saginaw High, how did you end up saying, okay, I want to deal with people who are struggling emotionally, mentally. How did you end up in mental health?
Yeah, great question. So it wasn't my original career. When I went to Fair State after graduating, my original stop was in the world of business. And I worked various jobs. I had some very sustainable employment opportunities. I really navigated into this mental health model behind the death of my father, untimely death of my father, while I was in pursuit of trying to work through that grief in search of just kind of got my wheels turning and trying to identify where these resources and what's available for people like me. I tried to talk to a few people. There was no connection. That's one of the biggest things we see is cultural compliance, or where there's no real connection.
So I'm sorry to cut you off, but so you were actually in a completely different area of, you had gone to school, you had been operating a business, doing quite well for yourself. You then find yourself stuck in this position, dealing and coping with the untimely loss of your father.
Yes.
And what was it about that moment that you said, I really need, maybe I need to invest myself in this place because I'm not seeing the services that folks like myself need? What was it about that experience?
The feeling, and that's what drives the mental health model. It's how you feel about a certain thing. That's why it's built into my mantra. Okay, relationship, perspectives, feelings. How do you feel about it? And then the end of it is something that you associate with the impact. How is this impacting me? So, to answer your question, I just wasn't getting the resolve that I felt that I needed. So I started to do a lot of research into how does this thing look for people like me that could benefit from these services. And after doing that research and really, really delving into what all is a part of it, I thought, man, I think I could do that. I think I could be a part of that.
What was the greatest challenge? Because we just completed a series of 4 weeks where we were talking with individuals, and particularly one brother, Wes Willis. If you're out there, this goes out to you. I want to thank you for the powerful conversation. And you may not realize it, but you were helping other people heal in their process, or at least identify where they were. Sharing his story, the loss of his son, the gun violence. We had some women, some mothers come in and share their stories of gun violence as well. And just going through that process and not knowing what to do or where to turn. What was the most trying part of the loss of your father and coping with that and trying to, what was the hardest part of that process?
You just have to deal with it. You feel trapped. Just dealing with it. Like, hey.
What does dealing with it look like for somebody who's listening?
Without the proper resources, it means you're still going to work. You're still taking care of home. If you're in a relationship, if you're married, you're still responding to those needs. Nothing lets up for you. So you're still dealing with it. Like if you look at the model of most corporate America entities, even when a parent transitions, it's 3 days.
Yeah.
That's it. It's 3 days.
Three days for grieving.
3 days. That's it.
And you should be okay, move on about it.
Let's
and
go.
Okay.
Let's go.
And so what do you think is, aside from empathy, what is the thing that is missing that you realize, hey, I got to get involved. I got to throw my hat in the ring because I need to be a part of this process. What was it?
The absence of it being available for me. It wasn't available. Couldn't find it. And this is a challenge now.
Well, I want to push back on that because people will say, hey, go to Saginaw Psychological. Hey, go to Bay Psychological. Hey, there's these services that are available for you that can help you. You know, you got to take advantage of them. What do you say to someone who says that to you?
Yeah. Culturally competent is what you.
That's the key.
Culturally competent.
All right. Let's talk about cultural, because I'm a cultural competency trainer. So let's talk about what cultural competency means in a space like mental health. What does that mean? When we say, we can use these terms and our listeners may not understand what we talk about, but when we talk about cultural competency is so important in mental health, What are we talking about? What exactly are we saying in this particular situation?
Do you really have a good fundamental grasp of what people like that endure when they have these type of losses, and understanding your limitations of providing a service? You can give good information. It could be textbook, it could be researched, evidence-based. But if you're not connecting, that's where you have to be able to say, I'm going to be diligent in helping you find that place that can help take you to the next, versus just trying to go on and imply that the person isn't moving.
I want to give you guys an example of what that looks like in our community. And cultural competency is important to understand the family dynamics because they're so different. I'm gonna tell you, I tripped out when I was talking to one of my white counterparts, and they were like, "Hey, I'm getting ready to call my cousin." I was like, "You hang out with? You got cousins? You never hear white people talk about
family
cousins.
Reunions. You don't
Family reunions. It's like, yeah, what?" And it was so weird to me, and so for someone who does not understand a family structure, because in most white communities, and I'm not, respectfully, right. In most white communities, the family unit is the mother, the father, and those brothers and sisters. That is the family unit. For us, like grandma is like mama. It's like mama 2.0. And in some cases, big mama, grandmama, Meemaw, whatever her name is, has a greater role or positioning in your life than your mother might. Yeah. And so understanding that dynamic, understanding that cousins, for many of us, your cousins are like your brothers and your sisters. And when we say that somebody's our cousin that may not necessarily biologically be relatives to us, that's like family. Yes, it is. And you have to understand those complexities and those nuances that exist, because that is what family means to this particular, to Black communities. So being culturally competent means that you don't take for granted or you don't minimize those relationships in dealing with a person's grief and how they cope with that. Exactly. Okay. So now you didn't get those things. You didn't see those things possible. How do you go from business? Because this is a whole nother conversation. Yeah. You have invested time to get a degree in one particular area of life. You're working in that area of life. And now you are moving from that area to a completely different discipline. How do you make that transition?
Well, the short answer would be sometime when you find your purpose is very easy. When you find your purpose.
Man, I done been to school. I done paid student loans. I done spent all of this time. I got all these connections in this world. I know I'd like a whole transition. Yeah. So purpose will make you make that transition.
And it's easy.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. It's very easy. You identify with what it is. You've done the research on it. You do the investigation. And then when you start delving into it, it just flows. There's no complications. It just flows. And then you find yourself in it, and it's effortless.
Casson, I share with the audience all the time. I tell them that purpose is that thing that keeps you up late at night. It is the thing that will wake you up in the middle of the night. It is the thing that gives you a reason to get up in the morning. And you are now saying that not only does purpose do those things, but purpose will have you change the entire framework of your life and change it in such a way that you uproot some things completely and you position yourself differently in life. So your purpose now takes you from business. You see that there's something greater here. You pursue this purpose. How long did it take you to make that transition? And did you ever second guess that change?
Never second guess.
Okay.
You're talking 3 years, and I was all in. It was done. It was over. 3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
To somebody, 3 years is an eternity. What?
Let's and going anyway. 3 years is going to come and go anyway.
And now 3 years is 3 months. We are here now in September, And, you know, it seems like yesterday the kids just got out of school and now they're getting ready to go back. Some of them are back in school. So we've got to be a part. And this is really a part of our mental health as well. Since we're talking about this, we're talking about men and mental health. So if you're out there today and you're a man and you're listening to this conversation, I need you to think about living life purposefully, because when you live life on purpose, it removes stress. It adds a spirit of expectation. It gives you something that drives you. It brings health to your mind, your body, and your soul. And it positions you to live life on purpose, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so now you are moving forward. You are now in this field. What was the greatest challenge when you got into this space? You understanding that there needed to be some place setting made so that for folks who understood that cultural competency, having people who understand and not only have a book knowledge, but are able to connect with folk is so vitally important. How did you enter into that space, and did you have any challenges as it related to really targeting and focusing on the health of Black men?
I haven't had any complications.
Okay.
Just being fair, I haven't. The wonderful thing about this opportunity is the autonomy. When you go through your boards, your licensing, your credentialing, that's it. You're done. The thing about Griot, that's my private practice. That's me.
Y'all hear this black man in here?
Hey,
There's a black man sitting across from me who is a mental health professional that is talking about his private practice.
That's it.
I love it, my brother.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about not only your private practice, but let's talk about why did you name your private practice Griot?
The African storyteller. He of Black skin that shares information and knowledge to enrich his community. Yeah.
Do you think, and for those that are listening, and what he just said in a very poetic way, I'm not going to be able to say it the way you said it, but in Africa, there were individuals who carried the history of a tribe, of a people, and it would be oral. They would share, they would listen and be told the entire history of their people, and their responsibility was to carry that history with them and to impart it into the next generation. And the individual who was responsible for the keepsake of that was called a griot. One of the things, Casson, as I look at our Saginaw community today, I see the absence. One of the issues I think that we're having emotionally, mentally, in terms of moving forward, the absence of griots in our community. Not only the storytellers, but the fathers of our community, the leaders of our community, men who were able to speak and really make great things happen, men who people listened to and honored them and understood their wealth and their contribution to the community that could mobilize our community. Do you see that same absence? And how do you think that absence of that voice, of that information impacts where we are today as a community?
The impact is overwhelmingly significant. Like, it's immeasurable. I do see it. During my transition into this role, I spent 5 years in the Saginaw Public School District, so I got to see a lot of stuff firsthand. And the absence of men is overwhelmingly obvious. So it does have a significant impact on us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we look at this, and I want to turn toward what you're talking about in this programmatic piece that you're putting together, understanding that you are now going to be talking specifically to men about grief and loss. Why was it important for you to speak specifically to that particular population?
By and large, they're underserved. It's an underserved population. Under-resourced population.
What do you mean when you say under-resourced?
People that look like us aren't necessarily readily available to work with them. It's thin. It's a very thin market, which kind of, when I was discussing some of the issues I had when I was working through my dad's transition, and even most recently, my dear brother who passed in February. So it's on me. Like, it's on me.
Okay.
Okay. When we think about grief, most cases when we talk about grief, it's always centered around death of a loved one.
Right.
That's not always the case. Okay, there's so many forms.
So there's people that are grieving that are not grieving from the death of someone.
Loss of job, divorce, losing financial stability, loss of health, legs or arms being amputated, being unable to have children, leaving your home, your neighborhood, or community, being incarcerated. Hey,
man, you have cracked up. Okay, we're opening up a serious can of soup here, and I think that this is important. So I want to talk about this, Casson, because what you're saying is what I've said for a long time, that we are not well as a community, and a lot of what you're saying right now may contribute to the factors as to why many of us are stuck in anger.
Oh, exactly.
Because we don't realize it, but that divorce or that long-term relationship that broke up, that we thought had legs that was going to be forever, when it's over, we enter into a grief process.
Exactly.
When we have that job that was the bread and butter of our family and we're working, and now I get a pink slip or the company folds up and they leave, I enter the grief process. So there are so many things that we as individuals are experiencing that put us into a grief process that we never assign as grief.
Exactly.
And so it's just dealing with it, coping with it, but never assigning a name. But if we never assign a name, then we really can't teach an individual how to go through the stages to appropriately address what they're experiencing.
They'll go through them naturally, but they don't know what to do with them. Okay, you naturally cycle through that anger, and that guilt and that bargaining, like, oh, if I'd have just did this more, if I'd have came in earlier, or if I'd have ate better, you'll cycle through it, but you won't know what to do with it.
So would you say there's a lot of people out there today that are in grief, cycling through it, not knowing that they're actually grieving?
Exactly.
Wow.
And they don't know what to do with it. So
I don't know if y'all listening out there, but those of you listening, let's tap into this conversation, because what you just said is so profound. I've not heard anybody coin it or phrase it that way, but that would explain why so many people are hurting. My father was never there, or my father was there and he left, or I lost my father to incarceration, or my father was shot dead. Now I'm entering into a grief process. One of those stages of grief is anger.
Exactly.
Now, what is it about anger? And I need to ask this question as we look at this. This is so powerful, Casson. What is it about anger as a part of the grief process that so many people find themselves getting stuck in? Is there something, it seems like a lot of people, as they enter or go through the processes of grief, the steps, and I want you to define what those are, first of all, for our listeners. What are those steps?
So you have the shock and denial of like when it takes place. And then you have the anger. And then you have the bargaining session or guilt that comes in. Then depression can set in there. And then some people may or may not go through a testing phase. And that's the one thing that historically men they don't go through the testing phase. And then it's ultimately we want to get you to acceptance. Now, acceptance doesn't mean that it's okay that my child or loved one was taken from me.
Right.
It just means that you understand that you did everything that you could, and now this is my new normal. How do I live and adjust to this new normal? I got to go forward. I know I got to move. How do I do that? And that's what we want to try to get you to. And the sadness, in fairness, never really goes away. It's moderated. My dad been gone 19 years, and if I think about him, which I think about him every day, like every day. If I see a picture of him, or he doesn't go without my mind every day. If I think about him long enough, I'll get sad.
You know, it's funny that you're saying that, because one of the things that really bothers me is when I hear people tell people, "Oh, it's okay, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna get better," and my self-suffering loss I've learned to deal with those situations differently. But like you said, if I think about it, the sense of loss, the sense of hurt is the same. And I'm finding myself crying all over again, like I did on day one. I was having, it's funny because I was having this just this past weekend. So this conversation is somewhat therapeutic. And I told my mom, I was like, I really miss my grandmother. She was such an important part of who I was as a person and what I thought I could be and become. And just thinking about it, it brought me to a place of sadness. And I said, I sat in it for a minute, but then I said, wait a minute, I got to pull myself out of this. But it doesn't it doesn't feel better. I just learned to cope with it. And I'm able to pull myself away from the pain.
Yes. And that's okay. That's okay. As long as you're cycling through healthy stages. Like, we're never trying to make you forget anyone or forgive those experiences, because they are what made you who and what you are.
Right.
We don't want you to slip down into a depressive state where now you become unfunctional. Okay. Or you're angry again. You want to go up to the hospital and choke that doctor out who told you everything was going to be okay.
And that's real. They killed my parent.
Hey,
you've heard the conversations.
I should have never took him to the said hospital anyway. If I see that doctor out there, he gonna catch that anger will come right back. But when you navigate through it and go through your stages through good, supportive, culturally competent therapy, you'll be able to find that place of resolution so that you can move on with your life.
That's awesome.
In the new normal.
That's exactly a great way to put a new normal. So let's talk a little bit about what these individuals can anticipate. It's crazy how fast time flies. Grief and loss for men. This is going to be Wednesdays, every Wednesday from September 11th to October 9th, 5:30 to 7 p.m. What's happening at these sessions? These are absolutely free. YMCA, how can someone sign up for this? Well, let's talk about, first of all, what is it that you're giving the opportunity to experience?
So we're going to talk about, each week is going to have a theme, and we're talking about where you may or may not be. And no one has to share, but there will be an opportunity for people to share if they feel like it. They'll be in pods, in groups, at the tables, and we'll give opportunity for people to share amongst themselves and or publicly if they want to tell their story. But it's going to be an explanation. This is going to be a psychoeducation series set up in a more of a support group model, where we're really offering a support group for everyone to identify with one another. And that's why the caveat was so heavy on men. It's going to give them a safe space to come in and be able to express. You have to understand, when a man, let's just take divorce for a real quick second. When a man thinks he's done everything that he could for his family and his wife, and he comes home one day and she says, I've gone as far as I can go. Hey man, he goes through a thing. He's lost his family. Most men lose 70 to 77% of their financial income. He may or may not be able to see his children on a regular basis. He don't have that impact anymore. Hey man, he going through it. Okay, so we're going to talk about what that feels like. What do you do? And ultimately, I know we're getting low. This is the most important thing about mental health. You must have a self-care program. That's the only way it works.
So there's got to be a plan in place.
Oh, that's the whole thing.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about that plan, that self-care plan that's essential to really moving through these stages of grief. Stick, stay, don't go away. We'll be back with more Straight Talk.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1.
Point. Hey, you okay? You don't normally miss those shots.
Oh, I just haven't been as regular lately, and it's making me feel sluggish.
You should try Metamucil. It's been a game changer for me. Metamucil's plant-based psyllium fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Ace, you're moving better than you were last week.
Definitely.
Metamucil keeps you moving. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Learn more at metamucil.com.
This Entertainment Insider is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. As the most decorated female swimmer in history, Olympic gold medalist Katie Ledecky says she loved the water from a very young age.
I just have so many happy memories of playing Marco Polo with my brother and all those little games. I never remember being fearful of the water or think it was always joy.
Looking for a career path with flexibility and great pay and benefits? Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today.
Macy's Labor Day sale is going on now with limited time end of summer specials like great deals on back to school looks, and shop our lowest prices of the season on furniture, mattresses, and more 15 to 65% off. Or use your coupon or Macy's card and take an extra 20% off even more great deals. Star Rewards members can earn faster during Star Money bonus days at Macy's. Details at Macy's.com/Star Money. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
This is the KISS community page, where you can find out about all of the great things that are going on in Saginaw Bay City and Midland. STEAM Learning Introduction to Computers, happening on September 21st from 10 a.m. to noon. Location 804 South Hamilton Street. Only 25 spots available. Registration on site starts at 9:30 a.m. and it's free. Parent and Caregiver Support Group meets every fourth Saturday in person at 804 South Hamilton Street, which includes conversations for parents and an activity and extra support for your loved ones so that you can attend together. Their goals are to empower caregivers and parents, provide a safe space to share your concerns, assist with advocacy and resources. Community organizers, please submit your events at least 2 weeks in advance to kisswtlz.com.
Hey, it's Steve Harvey, y'all. Here's what happened on the Steve Harvey Morning Show.
Would you rather have everyone be able to read your mind or everyone have access to your internet search history?
Either one, we're not going to be speaking on. Either one.
If you can read my mind, it's a wrap.
Internet history?
Either one, we through.
Oh, I done lost everything. Relationship, kids, I done lost it all.
Family gone, everything. Whole career down, all these years just gone. Kiss 107.1, simply the best R&B.
It's Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1.
We're back here with Straight Talk with Casson Gates, LPC, NCC, EMDR certified mental health professional. And before break, we were talking, and I want you to get back to it because I think it's so important. You were talking about it's so important for anyone who is suffering or getting any type of help to have a plan. Let's talk about what that plan should include. Why is it important, first of all, and then what should that plan include?
So if you take the medical model real quick, you go to see your doctor and the doctor says, hey, you're pre-diabetic, for an example. And the doctor says, I'd really like to see you get on a exercise program, watch your carbs, and they just go through the list of things you can do. That's a self-care program in a medical model. And that model is designed for you to improve on things so that you don't become into a fixated state of unhealthiness. The mental health model is very, very similar. So if you're navigating through depression, we'll develop a plan, and there should be a plan to help you do things. One of the biggest things is self-isolation. So we'll say, what could you do differently once or twice a week to keep you from self-isolating? And you say, oh, well, football season's here now. So Monday night I can go to my brothers, and Thursday night I can go to my cousins. And okay, let's start there. That's a self-care program from keeping you from self-isolating. But there has to be a plan. You can't just come in and talk, which talk therapy is very, very effective. It gets you to able to express yourself. But the plan is what sustains the wellness model. So the relationship with your therapist, there has to be a connection, and a self-care plan is really, really what gets you into a recovery state.
I guess the idea would be just as a business plan. Whenever you get into murky waters, you go back to the business plan. It puts you back on track to reach those targets and the metrics that are necessary. Very good. All right. But when we were on break, we were talking about how important this conversation is. We only got a couple minutes here. And if people want to get involved, first of all, let's share that. If they want to enroll, be a part of this conversation, how do they get involved?
So if they want to come to the program, you just show up. We're not taking any enrollments. It's just come and show up, because we do know that some people won't be able to make all 5 series, all 5 weeks. If you could just come in when you can come, it's open and you're available. Just come on in.
And I'll make sure that we put Cassin's information for Griot Health Services in our mental health services in our chat stream as well. But you can go to covenanthealthcare.com/ch/.
That's not fit. So that's if you don't fit that demographic.
Okay,
model.
if you don't fit the demographic.
Yeah, so we just giving resources for it. Like I have had respectfully a few young ladies ask about it, and I just want to share that this is for the gentlemen respectfully. We want them to have a safe space. But if you're not fit this demographic, and you
can go to the other one.
Yes.
So let me give it to you fully. That's covenanthealthcare.com/ch/grief supporters. Grief support groups. But if you do fit the demographics and you want to reach out to Cassin, that is Grio, GRIO, counseling, one word, at gmail.com. The number is 313-731-2630. Your last and final appeal to the brothers that may be listening, or to the sisters who love them, as to why they should get here. Go ahead. I'll give you the next 30, 40 seconds.
This is designed to reach and connect with the men in our community that have been struggling with significant loss, regardless of what it is. I encourage you, if you could just show up for one session. I'm thinking that some of the information that you pick up will be beneficial, so that you can start to move again in your purpose.
Thank you so much, Cassin. For those who are listening, talking with Cassin, I'm excited. I told him speaking with him is like taking mentholated cough drops. If anybody understands what that means, it opens you up. It is cool, and it makes it easy to swallow. Thank you for your time and attention today. For those who are listening, let's like, tag, and share this conversation. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's make sure that the village is healthy. We need our men healthy. We love you all. Take care of each other and yourselves. Grace and peace. Love you, Living Dow.
You've been listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1. The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen by the